There's a reason so many cat and dog introductions end in hissing, chasing, and months of tension, and it has very little to do with the animals disliking each other. Most failures start with human mistakes. We introduce them too fast, misread the signals, and assume time will fix it. It rarely does, but there is a process that works, and it begins with understanding how differently cats and dogs experience the same moment. Part 1. Different by design. Dogs are the only animal that evolved specifically to cooperate with humans. Over thousands of years, they developed social hierarchies, learned to read human facial expressions, and built their entire instinct around belonging to a group. Cats took a very different path. They evolved as solitary territorial hunters, where survival meant controlling space rather than negotiating social rank. So when we bring both into the same home and expect instant harmony, we're asking two completely different evolutionary systems to make sense of each other. It's not a personality clash. It's a design mismatch. Dogs evolved to join. Cats evolved to manage real estate. Part 2. The cat's perspective. When a new animal enters a cat's environment, the cat isn't evaluating friendship potential. It's evaluating what this means for its territory. Cats build precise mental maps of their surroundings, tracking where they eat, where they sleep, which routes feel safe, and which spaces belong to them. A new animal doesn't just change the social dynamic, it rewrites that entire map. So when a cat disappears under the bed for 2 days, it isn't being dramatic. It's recalibrating its understanding of the space it lives in. Dogs interpret the same moment completely differently. A dog's instinct is to approach, investigate, and make contact. Moving toward the unfamiliar feels natural to them. And this is exactly where most introductions fall apart. One species needs distance to feel safe, while the other closes distance to feel secure. Most problems don't start with aggression. They start with two animals interpreting the same moment in completely different ways. The dog thinks it's saying hello. The cat thinks it's being invaded. Part 3. Setting the pace. Every successful introduction follows one rule. Let the cat set the pace. The process starts with separation. Giving the cat a private room isn't punishment, it's decompression. It allows the cat to establish a small, predictable territory within the larger home, with its own food, water, litter, and hiding spots. Stability before exposure. Meanwhile, the dog begins picking up the cat's presence through scent. And scent is exactly where the real introduction should begin. Swapping bedding or using a cloth to transfer scent between the animals lets both nervous systems process the new presence without the intensity of direct eye contact or movement. Familiarity should develop quietly before it develops visually. When they do finally see each other, barriers work far better than carriers. A carrier traps the cat and removes its ability to retreat, and a cornered animal escalates fast. A barrier preserves the one thing that matters most in this process: control over distance. Sessions should be brief. 5 minutes is enough. The goal isn't duration, it's positive association, treats, calm energy, neutral interactions. Then stop before tension has a chance to build. Feeding the animals near each other with a barrier between them also helps. Animals that eat calmly in proximity gradually build tolerance through routine. And throughout all of this, body language tells the real story. Flattened ears, puffed fur, rigid posture, or a locked stare all mean the same thing. Slow down, not push through. There is no universal timeline. Progress is measured in relaxation, not in days. Patience isn't a suggestion here. It's the entire method. Part 4. Designing peace. Even after a smooth introduction, coexistence doesn't maintain itself automatically. It has to be designed. Cats need vertical space. Height provides security. And a cat that can observe the room from above feels fundamentally safer than one confined to ground level with a larger animal nearby. Resources need to remain clearly separated. Food bowls, resting spots, litter boxes. When resources aren't clear, competition appears. Competition leads to guarding. Guarding leads to conflict. The most stable multi-species households aren't the ones where everything is shared. They're the ones where territory stays legible, routines stay predictable, and each animal maintains control over its own space. Peace between cats and dogs isn't found. It's furnished. Part 5. What bond looks like. Research suggests that most cats and dogs introduced gradually do form secure attachments, but that bond rarely looks like what people expect. It's usually not constant cuddling or playful chasing. More often, it looks like two animals sharing the same room calmly, breathing evenly, fully aware of each other, but completely relaxed. They're choosing to stay. That's not indifference. That's trust. Cats didn't evolve to seek pack structure, and dogs didn't evolve to read silence and distance easily. But when the introduction respects what each animal actually is, rather than what we wish they were, they adapt. Not because they're the same, but because the environment gave them room to understand each other safely. Cats and dogs don't need to speak the same language. They just need a good translator. So if your cat disappears for a while when a dog arrives, it isn't rejection. It's simply the cat recalculating its territory. Give both animals the time and space to understand each other. And in most homes, that understanding starts with patience. If you've got a cat and a dog at home, what was the first sign they'd figured each other out? Drop it in the comments.